This is where it all started. On December the 5th in 2019, I shot my first YouTube video here in beautiful St. Thomas. I retired here when I turned 45, and now I'm 51. So let's talk about sort of how I retired here at 45 and why we left and why I'm back here now. Let's get into it all right now. So we moved here in 2019, and my wife was teaching school, so we came in the summer of 2019, and by about December, when I started making these YouTube videos, I started getting a little bit bored. This is supposed to be everybody's dream, to move here to a beautiful Caribbean island, which I had to move into the shade because it was getting a little hot out in the sun. But moving to a Caribbean island, that's supposed to be the dream, right? And after only 6 months, I started kind of running out of things to do. You can sit on this beach every day and just be in awe of the beauty, but you need a little bit more in your life, a little bit more structure. So that's why I started doing these videos. And in the beginning, I started doing these videos to teach everybody how I was able to retire at 45. And everybody in the real estate world always wants to talk about having 100 doors. There's very few people that talk about how you can retire with 5 properties. And that's exactly what we did. We had 5 rental properties, and that we could live off of that rental income. And that's how we moved here. My wife wasn't ready to retire, so that's why she got a job as a school teacher here, and that's what brought us here. But basically, we could have lived off of our income from those 5 properties. And so that's what I started making videos about. But then I kind of felt like I said everything there was to say about how you can buy 5 rental properties and retire. So then the content sort of moved into more of the mentality side of retirement and the retire mentality. That's what the whole point of the channel was. So what a lot of people don't talk about in the real estate world and being if you've seen Coach Carson, he talks about being the small and mighty investor. And he's one of the few people that talks about retiring with 5 properties, even though he's got 100 doors with a partner. But there's very few people who talk about how to do this and create this lifestyle. Because for us, my camera girl back there, the point wasn't to have 1,000 doors and have $100,000 a month in income. The point was to get to a point as fast as we could where we could live off of the rental income and have this kind of a lifestyle and be able to move to a Caribbean island. We bought a house in Puerto Rico while we were living here. And we are here on this trip because we're about to hop on a sailboat and do a 10-day sailing or a 7-day sailing trip through the British Virgin Islands. We're just gonna go island hopping. So there's gonna be a little bit more content about that if you want. Or you can hop over to my other channel, How to Beach. I'll put a link down in the description. We're gonna do some videos about sailing around the British Virgin Islands. I digress. But the point is about having 5 rental properties and being able to retire. You see, there's 3 steps in this whole real estate building an empire process. There's the building phase where you use leverage and you buy your first couple of properties. And the hope is, in the beginning when we were both working, we weren't trying to create cash flow, we were trying to build wealth. And so by putting 10 or 20% down on those properties and letting the rent pay down the mortgage and all the money we got from those rental incomes, we didn't spend any of that rental income. We saved that rental income so that we could buy another property. And that's how we bought 1 property every year. And so it only took us 5 years to get the 5 properties that got us to where we are today, that we can live off of that income. So it sounds like it's so simple, but most people just don't have the discipline to do that. The way we got started was we lived on my wife's teacher salary when we lived in Florida, and my real estate commissions from selling real estate, we saved every penny of that to buy the first house and then the second house. And then it just got a little bit easier as you have more rental income coming in. It just keeps getting a little easier and a little easier until our jobs became unnecessary. And that's how we were able to retire here at 45. The other real estate taboo that the real estate gurus never talk about is once you get to this magical spot, for us, we had enough income to live off of with 5 properties. So then my wife's teacher salary now is extra money. So we started using that to pay down debt. And I still sell a little bit of real estate here and there. I just kind of do family and friends and referrals. And any of my real estate commission checks that come in, now we use that to pay down debt. And now we have 2 properties paid off fully. And we have reduced the mortgages greatly on some of our other properties. And we actually just sold our forever house, the house that we thought we were gonna have forever. We just sold it. Because we wanted a new adventure. We just bought a house in Spain and we used that money. We paid cash for the house that we bought in Spain. So the house in Spain makes our 3rd property that we don't have a mortgage on. And the point isn't to just keep acquiring more and more properties, and paying down debt is something that, in the YouTube space at least, it's not sexy to talk about paying off mortgages, but having the house with no mortgage. So the house that we sold, we had a 20 with our mortgage and our insurance and our taxes and our flood insurance, and Florida is all very expensive. So we paid $25,000 a year for that house. And after we sold it, and now we paid cash for the house in Spain. So, and the taxes and the insurance in Spain are way cheaper. It's $1,000 a year for both of them. So our operating cost of our main living house went from 25,000 to 1,000. And that's a huge savings. So we're not moving there full time yet. So we're gonna have a little bit more expenses flying back and forth, and health insurance and some other, having 2 cars. There's a lot involved. We have a lot of moving parts going here. But eventually, once we move full time to Spain in a couple of years, our operating and living expenses are going to be dirt cheap. So it just makes the rental income from those other 5 properties stretch even farther, go even farther, we can buy a boat, we can buy a nicer car, we can go on bigger sailing trips around the Virgin Islands and do all the things that we want to do. So the point I'm trying to make in this video is that everybody in the real estate community always talks about how many doors you need, and it's a grind, and you keep buying and buying and buying, and leverage. And the key is to figure out how many properties you need to live off of the income and generate a lifestyle. The whole point is to generate the life that you want to live. And for us, it's traveling, it's coming back to places like this, it's going sailing. This was a last minute deal. Somebody just picked up the phone, or actually they texted my wife, and they said, someone canceled on a sailing trip. You want to go fly down to the British Virgin Islands and spend a week on a sailboat, just do whatever we want, because we rented the boat and we're our own captains? We're like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Let's do that. So that is the life you can create. We did it through real estate. You can do it many other ways. There's no right or wrong way to do this, but if you're into this kind of information, I hope you'll stick around. Give me a like down there and subscribe to the channel, and I'll promise to keep making this kind of content for you. Thanks for watching. How's that?